Hi everyone, Paige here from the Newbie Dice YouTube channel. Well, in the past week, there has been a lot of meltdown happening over this total charge blocking issue in the Kings of War Fanatic Facebook group, and with the risk of causing more controversy, I would really like to address it because it's something that hits close to home for me. So, let's see what happened. A player asked a question on total charge blocking in the FAQ, right? It's FAQ version 1.14, which is the latest one as of this video, right? Most players have a general consensus of how this issue should be resolved, how it should be applied, okay, which includes that there should be boxed in. The unit needs to be boxed in for the FAQ to apply. Well, the RC clarified that no, you don't need to be boxed in. So a lot of veteran players actually ruled that, oh no, it goes this way, but the RC said no, it goes that way, right? And because they made some clarifications, and it was shocking to a lot of players, including myself and some veteran players who, they answered this way, but the answer was that way, so it kind of changed the core understanding of the game quite a bit. Okay. And so one of these veteran players asked a very legitimate question in the Kings of War Fanatics group. Okay, but there were a lot of opinions that chimed in, and maybe some were informed of the whole turn situation, and some were maybe not as informed because the information is scattered throughout various threads in Kings of War Fanatics and even on a new RC page. So very soon the thread became a dumpster fire, right? So I can't find the thread anymore. Perhaps it was deleted by the poster or even admin. I'm not too sure, but I really like to address it. So why I made this video, right? Because I felt that there is, firstly, what the RC ruled. I think there's a legitimate concern on the impact of that ruling and how it's going to apply to other situations. Okay, and secondly, I hope everyone who hasn't been following very closely will get a full understanding, a full picture of this situation, to be informed about this situation. And thirdly, I'd like to support that the original post and poster, of all the original posts and posters, have no ill intent. They're just seeking clarification and understanding of the rules. So I've been burned by asking a rules question on Kings of War Fanatics before, and hence going forward I actually prepared this text that I will post every time I ask a rules question, right? To say, I'm an avid gamer, I like to play the rules correctly. When there's ambiguity, I like to have them clarified. I ask them in public forums so that people who have the same question in their mind will be able to see the answer. Or sometimes it's open to discussion as well, right? And it's also something for the RC, the rules committee, might consider, clarifying in the errata of or FAQ if other people say the same thing as me, chime in and say, yeah, I also find it confusing. I do play a lot of Mantic games, all right, and I'm a rules dictionary in my community. Every time they're not sure of a rule, they will ask me, and I will provide the rule, at which I need to be very confident that I got it correct. So every time, sometimes I throw through the community to see any rules ambiguity and how it was ruled, so that when this situation happens in my local group, I know that I give them for sure the correct answer. Okay, I do not mean to abuse the rules, but hope to tighten the rule set so that players can enjoy their games without any rules dispute. Okay, clean rules lead to enjoyable games. That's my mantra. Okay, so I post this at the end of every rules questions from now on, but I shouldn't have to do that, but more of that later, okay? So let's look at the errata in question, or rather this is the FAQ in question. So in this current version of the FAQ, there's a question. So a unit can be sometimes boxed in. So boxed in quotation marks. So what does it mean? Stopping it from doing anything but to back up, and sometimes not even backing up, okay? So the position of an enemy unit might mean that none of the viable targets that the unit should be able to charge can be charged because the charging unit cannot align to any of them. Such is an example below. So you see the enemy units, 1, 2, 3 units plus a blocking terrain, okay, has stopped the Horde from charging any units because it can't align to any of them. So the answer in this FAQ is, of course, it's perfectly fine to force an enemy to legally charge one unit of your choosing, okay, or use terrain to cleverly shield units or protect flanks. However, forcing a situation where no legal charge is possible due to the angle of possible multiple targets, okay, and total charge blocking by gaming the rules. Take note, gaming is in quotation marks. It's not permitted. So the recommended way to resolve this is to allow them to charge, and then the target will align to the charger. Alright, so that means the horde should be able to charge one of these, and it just slides forward, and then instead the enemy regiment will align to it. Okay, in this situation. Okay, now this is quite obscure, right? To be boxed in by one left, right, and two units in front is quite an obscure situation, but nonetheless, there's an explanation on how to solve it. So in most veteran players' understanding, including myself, we felt that there's two conditions here. It needs to be boxed in, and it's forcing a situation where no legal charge was possible. So that has always been quite a lot of players' interpretation, including veteran players, and I'm pretty sure the competitive scene plays it this way, right? That boxed in, and so there is a boxed in requirement and forcing a situation where no legal charge was possible. Okay, so here's the question that was asked on Fanatics. So this is the first one. Okay, so it said, hey, this is a situation from my last game. So take note, this is not a hypothetical corner case scenario that someone conjured up in his head. This happened in his last game. Okay, so two regiments of ironclads angled themselves in such a way that you cannot be charged by the snow troll horde because the snow trolls cannot fit onto any unit. So does that FAQ that I just referenced just now still say the snow trolls could charge one of them using these? Okay, so if you note that he has placed this shaded portion, which you can see if you charge this unit on the left, there's a bit of clipping onto the other regiment, and if you charge the unit on the right, it would go off the end of the battlefield here. Okay, and this has already sparked 110 comments. So some players, including veteran players in the scene, have said, no, charge blocking does not apply here because the Thane can charge the dwarf ironclad, right? And then the trolls have options to sidestep, to back up, to reform. So he could even reform to like this, right? And then next turn start to move this way. Okay, so he could face this way. Okay, and then he could get out of this situation. Okay, in any case, if you charge his Thane into one of the units here, right, then it's already forcing some. The game continues. It doesn't get stuck here, right? So if the dwarf, the ironclad regiment charged the Thane in the flank, assuming the first regiment is still alive, right? This one would charge in the flank, and then your snow trolls have something to do, right? You can charge this unit over here, okay? And of course, if let's say the Thane and this dwarf fight each other until for some reason the Thane has lost the combat, okay, and this dwarven ironclad didn't move, so it's still a stalemate, right? So, but nobody's winning in this case, depending on the scenario, right? If it's invade, well, if it's the line is here, then nobody wins, right? So, and another thing, if the Thane charges, the two ironclads countercharge, and let's say they kill off the Thane, and then this ironclad regiment, this one over here, it has to reform in a way, and then the snow crows could charge it anyway, right? So he has blocked off this trolls from charging, but only temporary in this turn. Okay, so I would say it's smart play. This is quite a narrow corridor that the dwarven player used two regiments in such a narrow corridor to block the snow trolls from charging. So there are quite a lot of players that says, you know, no, charge blocking doesn't apply here because there are options. Okay, there are another set of commenters that say, no, charge blocking applies here. He did angle it so that no charge was possible. And if you rewind, this boxed in portion that we understand was a requirement is actually a question, right? It's a question. It's not an answer from the RC. Okay. So, but then, even then, we feel like a lot of players, myself included, feel that, you know, this constitutes the whole situation. The question and and the answer portion constitutes the whole situation and how it should be ruled, right? This is a corner case, so the question is like, okay, this is a corner case scenario, how should it be resolved? Okay, so this answer, although it didn't reference back the scenario, but it's an answer to the question of what to do in this scenario, right? Okay, so if you just look at the answer portion, it just says forcing a situation where no legal charge was possible. Just this portion is not permitted. Okay, so some other players say, the boxed in is not a requirement. It's just when it's forcing a situation where no legal charge was possible. So there was a lot of debate on it. You can see 110 comments. Okay, and that's where the RC stepped in. Okay, and it's not replying directly to the thread. Actually, there was a comment that says, "Hey, we just created a Facebook page, RC Facebook page, and then the answer to your question is on the Facebook page, right?" So, and this is where they post. Okay, so firstly, before I go to that, this is a Facebook page, not a group, right? There is a difference. Group, anyone could start topics, start posting, and start discussing. Page, only the RC themselves can post threads. We could comment to threads, but we can't start threads, start questions. Okay, so it's just there for them to post answers. The page is not there for us to post questions. Okay, and so this is what they said. Okay, so there's an example in Kings of War Fanatics, total charge blocking by the dwarf player. Okay, and is determined to be total charge blocking and illegal by the dwarf player. Okay, so player cannot use multiple units to block all potential charges. Okay, perfectly fine to force one, blah 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 blah. So this is what we know. Okay, in this situation, there's no valid charge for the throw possible. Okay, so due to the dwarf unit being placed at angles which game the rules, it's not permitted. Okay, so the snow throw horde should be given a choice. Okay, and let the snow throws complete the charge. And get this, so this is an official clarification from the RC that says, so it's an important distinction that the portion of the question stating that box in is just the question, is not part of the answer and the ruling. So they have come in and officially say that, hey, box in is the question, it's not the answer. So box in is not a requirement of total charge blocking. Okay, and in fact they say, okay, we're making this clearer by having this printed in the upcoming 2022 book, okay, showing the correct interpretation. And you see that this segment does not include the question segment of the FAQ, just the answer segment. I'll have this blown up in a second. Okay, so there you have it. That's what the RC wrote. Let me gather my thoughts as we go through to the next section. So there are some people who say, we don't have the full picture of this situation. This is just a picture teaser of the upcoming rulebook. We don't have the rest of the rulebook. But no, right? The RC has made a clarification, has given the answer relating to FAQ 1.14, which is the current version, and our current edition of the rules, our current version 3 of the rules, not the version 3.5 book that is upcoming. Okay, this applies to our current way of playing the game. Okay, so this is quite a shocker, right? Because, let me rewind this. So the snow throws have no charge target. So what if the snow throws were back up here? Right? And they could pivot 90 degrees in the same turn and start walking out of the way. Is this charge blocking? This is a big question mark. Right? Must I present him a charge just because he's standing in front of me? What if he can get out of this tight corridor in one turn? Okay, but he could definitely get out of the tight corridor in 2 turns, right? He can turn around and move out. Of course, you say, oh, it's going to get charged by the dwarven player. Well, you could just put the Thane here and you can block both charges. Right, so there are a lot of issues here. So if we bring it back to this errata, so essentially, the RC has said that, okay, this requirement is still there. This one is not there. Okay, this is a question. This is not our answer. So if you look at it, it's word for word this segment transposed onto this. Same diagram, just done in a fancier rulebook format. Okay, it's exactly the same. Okay, so that same posters then say, okay, so what about this situation? right? I have a Thane here. I mean, the flank of both the dwarves. The building is here. Okay, so this rule did say that clever use of terrain to protect flanks is possible, but okay, due to the angles of multiple targets, angling of multiple targets where no rules charge is possible. So there are multiple targets here, and there's angling going on, blocking this flank from being charged. So is this total charge blocking when there's only two things to charge anyway? And the Thane, mind you, could run anywhere quite freely. Okay, so the RC has not formally answered this, but there is a semi-official answer from somebody. I will not go into details of that. Okay, and says that so basically his answer is no. This is not total charge blocking. Why? In the troll examples, they can make contact as normal. Now, what's as normal? I have a question with that. He can't make contact as normal because he can't fit. So yes, so what is normal? So if I rewind, so what is normal? I can't fit onto here, right? I can't pick up and place a line to the frontage. Right, so that's one question. Okay, here they couldn't, but I could, right? The Thane could charge the corner, and the corner is part of both the front and the flank facing. Okay, the Thane could charge the corner. So why is it not? Okay, so it's legal for the dwarf player to place it this way. So I based on the ruling, I know that this is how we usually play, and this usually says that the opponent can't charge us. But based on this new clarification that changes, now that no boxed in is no longer a requirement, this changes our understanding of the game quite significantly. Because previously with the boxing requirement, it's very corner case where this situation applies. Now without this boxing requirement, this situation applies much more often. Okay, so what's forcing a situation when no legal charge was possible? So they have forced a situation when no legal charge was possible from the Thane. So what makes this different? Okay, so further explanation from the from the person says, it can't align to the flank. Okay, but same for the trolls, right? It can't align to the front because there's absolutely no space. Okay, but in the first example, the trolls have 98% frontage available to connect. So this percentage is also very weird. Since when are we talking about how much percentage? Okay, there isn't no space, right? Because if I put my Thane here, okay, the full flank is contacted. Okay, although it overlaps into the dwarf, the full flank is contacted, right? And it's not absolutely no space. This shaded space here is how much that I'm able to connect with the dwarf player if I ignore this. If we're comparing it to what is the amount of area that's being blocked. Okay, there's still like 20%, 25%. Okay, so in the first example, the trolls, right, there's 98% available to contact. Okay, and it really comes down to tiny obscure situations. So I don't get that it's tiny and obscure, because once you take off the boxed in requirement, it blows the whole thing up. There are a lot of situations that we need to access whether it's considered total charge blocking. Okay, so intention but viability. So this post is saying that there are gray areas. They can't all be spelled out perfectly. I don't quite agree, but in this case, it's pretty clear that the Thane has no room to fit. No, they have at least 20% of their area able to fit, and the full frontage against the full flank is able to fit. Okay, so if a player denies any charges with a few millimeters of overlap, that's fringe. That's the fringe instance this is referring to. Okay, so now we're talking about a few millimeters of overlap. So what if the dwarven regiments were spaced much wider apart? Okay, let's say that this dwarven regiment is here, and this dwarven regiment is here, and if my Thane were to charge, the area is like this. Okay, just a little bit of the butt couldn't fit. Okay, so maybe this gap is 48 mils or even 49 mils. Okay, whereas the taint on Frostfang is 50 mil, right? So by the way, if it's a 49 mil spacing, it's exactly 98% of the area in contact. Okay, so what if the Dwarven player did this? They say, okay, I'm trying to maximize the space between my regiments, but I'm making it clear to you that your taint can't fit in this space. So that is, if the taint were to charge, 98% of its area will be able to fit. So would that be gaming? Alright, usually no, right? Because when we play, I communicate my intent as a Dwarven player. Okay, I'm going to space them out, but with the caveat that there's no space for your taint to fit in. So this is something very commonly we do. So then this argument doesn't cover that situation. Alright, then it's about discussing the situation and the intent is clear. So if I made my intent clear, I'm spacing my dwarves as far as possible, but your taint can't fit in. So how is that? Am I gaming the rules? So it's very ambiguous at this point. So look, so in this example, yeah, this, if you were to charge this, just this tiny corner overlaps, right? But still, what about if I space out my dwarfs, right? Then only very bad drawing, just only a bit of my rear overlaps, and let's say our area is exactly the same. So what makes this situation illegal, and this situation legal? Based on the writings of the rules and the FAQ, there's no clear answer to this. There's no undisputable answer to this. Okay, am I being a douche by maximizing the space I can space my dwarf without being flank charged? Right? So, and then another player started asking this. So, what if the players, these are all 80 mils width, right? So, what if they're all aligned in a straight line? Okay, this flying worm is height 6, right? This thing is height 5, so he could see over. So, but I can't land on any of these spaces, right? So, this player, and he's a veteran player in the community, and he's not out to troll fanatics or try to be antagonistic, but he's saying, hey, if this is considered charge blocking, is this considered charge blocking too? Because based on how I read the rules, it seems like it is charge blocking, and so I'm allowed to charge. The worm is allowed to charge, right? He has let's go back to the wording again. Due to angles of multiple possible targets. So this player angled multiple possible targets, more than one, in a way that the angling of it blocks any flank charge. Right, so this one is also being blocked, but at least the FAQ said clever use of terrain is fine. So this is terrain, clever use of terrain. Okay, so what about the two Elohai regiments over here, hordes over here? So this player just said, okay, if that snow troll horde is example is valid, so my worm should be valid too. So the thread has been deleted, so I'm relying on old screenshots. So you can see that in this picture he charged this corner because the worm is nimble, so he charged this corner. Okay, and the corner is part of the flank, right? And then so the Elohai has to align to the worm. Is that how it works? And that's his question, because take in mind, when the boxed in requirement has been officially confirmed by the RC that it doesn't apply anymore, it really opens up a lot of situations that needs to be discussed. It opens up a whole can of worms. Okay, so if you say no, then what if once again I'm gonna throw you this situation? What if the Elohai was spaced such that the worm is 75 mil wide? What if the Basilian player say, I am keeping a 74 mil spacing, I just want to make it clear, your worm cannot land. Am I gaming the rules? As is the Basilian player gaming the rules? That's another question. So this has sparked 197 comments, as you can see before. I can't find it anymore. Okay, so there's a lot of interaction and a lot of negative interaction, unfortunately. Some people are saying, why are you posting this? Why are you trying to stir trouble? But it's not, right? Because our basic understanding of the game has just been questioned. Okay, so in part of all the threads of reply, the XRC member who actually wrote the FAQ spoke out. He said what was meant to be clarified. And he did say that his original intent when he wrote the FAQ was that it needs to be boxed in. Okay. Even then he regretted that he wrote this FAQ because, well, look at this example here. If you are the player with this horde and you allow yourself standing next to building to be surrounded by 3 regiments such that you don't get to charge any of them, it's the credit to the opponent's great play to position, or your play to be trapped like this. Right, it's the fault of your play to be trapped like this, right? But then this is an ex-RC member, and if the current RC member say, okay, actually they have ruled that no, the box-in requirement does not apply. So let's look at this. So there's a lot of things to pick with the wording here. Okay, cleverly shield units from flanks, sure. Okay, no legal charge is possible. What's a legal charge, right? As long as you can place, it's legal. And then there's discussion earlier, 98% legal is legal, right? So angles of multiple possible targets. These are angles too, right? Even though they're straight, but they're purposely angled such that none of their flanks are exposed. Okay, so what about the term gaming the system? Is even in quotation marks because there's no real way to define it, right? So that's the situation we're in right now. Okay, and yes, there's a lot. I feel that the rule is very ambiguous right now because of this. Okay, and so what's the solution? All right, I do urge the RC to find a way in the rule wording to be able to differentiate the difference, the tactical play and gaming the rules. Okay, in what circumstances when I'm able to block all your charges, is it allowed and is it considered total charge blocking? Because based on the current rule wording, I know what the veteran players and the RCs want to achieve, but what we have now is not achieving it. Okay, and we can't just close our eyes. We're veteran players, we should know better. No, because there are new players coming in and they read and they say, oh, you're blocking my charge, I can charge you. And without a clear definitive way to say, no, I block you from charging my flanks, that doesn't mean I must allow you to charge one of them, right? If I did such a smart play and then this player say, no, you're blocking my charges, and I need to be able to explain this to him, no, this is tactical play, this is not total charge blocking. All right, so right now there is no clear way to differentiate it. Okay, so so unless I can't think of any way in my mind to write rulings that can clearly define the two differences. Okay, and it needs to be black and white. It needs to be crystal clear that I show this to my opponent. So this, I'm not total charge blocking you, and the opponent needs to be able to agree and no grounds for dispute, right? And if we can't, then let's bring in back the boxed-in requirement, or let's just remove this whole total charge blocking thing situation anyway, right? Because like what the XRC member said, if you really get yourself into this situation, it's the good play of the enemy or the poor play of you on that player, right? Okay, and in this situation, the snow throws could have been backed up a bit further so that he has options to turn and move the other way, right? This is a narrow corridor, and that is, units with larger bases do suffer from this kind of situation. They are harder to maneuver, and although this is just a large infantry horde, okay, it is wider than the Dwarven regiment, and this is a very narrow space. You see, you can't even fit 2 large infantry horde, but you could fit 2 infantry horde, right? So of course, end of the day is up to the RC to decide how to settle this, but I hope that the community at large understands that yes, this is the problem right now. Okay, and so there is another Facebook user that posts, now that there's an official RC page, can we have a group to be made for rules questions? Because once again, only the RC can post in the page. That means they can only post responses. We cannot ask questions. Yeah, I think I'm not alone. There are a lot of new players find Fanatics. They find, wow, rules question with 300 comments, and with lots of flaming going on, vitriol over there. It's not nice, right? Fanatics have enough drama without these rules questions. Okay. So if we can separate this out and the RC can even moderate and answer directly, that would be great. Okay. And it's for difficult questions, right? Not for simple questions. Okay. So, and some users have chimed in. I have agreed to this. I've liked this as well. It's true, there have been few mentions to this not being the correct forums, right? But the RC page doesn't allow for direct posts. DMs, we shouldn't be using DMs, right? We shouldn't be asking an individual RC member as a matter of inquiry. Okay, sometimes we need to air it in a public forum to see if other people agree with us that, yeah, this is a problem. I don't know how to resolve this, or 50% says A, 50% says B, then we know that there's a problem here. Okay. Some find it enlightening, I do trawl through most of the too long threads to find all the information, which I didn't think everybody would want to, right? And yeah, and for RC to receive feedback and brainstorm, right? Another user commented, yeah, I love to have a place to ask questions in good faith without half the responses being people who didn't really read the situation well, and the others is half telling me that I'm being an asshole, a dick, and I should have worked it out with my opponent. Okay? And yes, people miss the point that when we ask these questions, it's not about trying to gain an advantage by knowing the rules, but by people ourselves. We are the rules dictionary, right? We are the bastions of our community. These are the bastions of their community who understands the rules very well, who are able to answer questions of their local community when they ask them. Okay, by the people or TO who teach the new players and want to give a concrete answer. There we have it. Okay, now the user post, right? 100% agree this should have been done a long time ago. I have nothing against that in-depth rules discussion, but this is only a wargaming group that I know that has rules discussions, regular rules discussion that ends up with 200 comments and 15 diagrams, right? Kings of War is super simple to learn, becomes a hard sell to new players when they see this, although actually it is true. Now, it is true with a caveat, right? Kings of War at the end of the day is a ranks and flanks game. And with this game, right, there are a lot of rules around movement, right? How can you charge, pivot, move straight, pivot, turn around. You can only move back how many inches. It's not like skirmish game where you just pick up the model, 10 inches, you just push it forward 10 inches and place anywhere, right? So there are a lot of rules, and with that comes a lot of these things that needs to be clarified. A lot of situations, you might call them corner case, but actually some of them come up quite often, right? So even like the snow throw horde example, it came out in the person's game, right? And if the current rule set spawns room for lots of questions, then it's time to clarify them. Even if it results in us needing to write multiple FAQs, very important, right? Easy rule set is important, but clean rule set is even more important. It's only when everything is clear then we are able to have an enjoyable game. What if I play chess with a player and the rules are not clean? What's to say, oh, my pawn can just fly over everything and take out your king and I win immediately? You need to have very well-defined rules on what we can do and what we cannot do. Okay, so this is my own response as well. So I also chimed in, yes, please. It's set to see legitimate questions, complex discussions and questions, concerns about the rules, and when we post them, it degenerates into a dumpster fire, right? And then as a poster, we get the undue stress of being blamed and say, oh, we started this shit show, right? We started this dumpster fire, that we should know better, fanatics people can't be trusted. But I mean, if I were to put forth a legitimate discussion, why should I be punished for it? Okay, some questions need to be raised in the public forum, because we like to check if we are the only one that find this rule ambiguous, or other people are saying, I also find this confusing, right? And then they can take it as feedback and they can adjust and clarify. The reason why there are so many comments and diagrams because the answer is not clear. That's why 100 200 people have 200 different answers to the question because the answer is not clear. And what's that? What does that indicate to? That we should clarify it. Okay. So I've tagged the Kings of War RC now that they have a page. It's taggable. Okay. So if I rewind back to this, I've posted this, but I shouldn't need to post this, right? We're all adults here. Why should I need to clarify myself with this long paragraph when I'm legitimately asking a rules question? There is a concern that needs to be clarified. In fact, I have faced this situation before. In FAQ 1.13, the errata has added that the charger moves most direct route, bringing its front facing or front corner. So why are there two terms? When I first read this errata, right, I was wondering why is front corner being mentioned, and I made a post in Fanatics saying, why is front corner being mentioned? Is the facing and the corner different? So does that mean? And then if you see the second part of the sentence, you only specify the facing. So in this sentence, part A references facing and corner for the charging unit, and for the enemy unit only specifies the facing. Why would if it's the same thing, right, then you should add the facing or corner of the enemy unit being charged, right? So when I read this, I was so confused, and I was like, is there a difference now? The facing and corner is different? Okay, does that mean me as the charger, right? My charger, okay, my corner and the dots being the corner, and my facing can touch the enemy, but when I touch the enemy, I can only touch the facing. Touching the corner is not correct, and that was my question, right? If I charge like this and I touch, this is not correct because I only touched the corner, I didn't touch the facing, since you are separating facing and corner, right? So when I posted this, I was like being flamed as well. My thread turned into half a dumpster fire as well, and I was quite upset, right? I was quite upset during that time. Okay, and the RC has clarified, no, it's the same thing, right? We just added a redundant front corner just to be extra clear. Well, my argument is, if you want to be extra clear, then you need to be consistent. Every time you reference facing, you need to add corner as well. You can't just put it once. You need to put it everywhere. If not, then it's confusing, right? Then you should, if you want, then the whole rulebook, not just this sentence, the whole rulebook, every time you reference facing, you should need to reference corner. So if you just put it here, it just doesn't make sense. It confuses more than to clarify. And lo and behold, in FAQ 1.14, the front corner is removed, and not without me taking lots of flack for it. I was so annoyed by the situation. Yeah, and in fact, I just left Fanatics for a short while at the time before rejoining the group. So please, everybody, this rules discussion thing shouldn't start dumpster fires. Let's behave. I don't know what to say, right? To act accordingly, right? We're all adults here. And especially sometimes you see the player who started the post, they are not there to purposely antagonize, cause trouble, stir shit, destabilize. There's a disturbance in the force, destabilize the community. No, and in this situation, it's what was rude, right? It really changes the core understanding of the game. In fact, most people ruled that the snow trolls were not total charge block because they were not boxed in. Okay, and when the RC clarified otherwise, then it really raises a lot of questions like, have we been playing the game wrong? That's why we have to post publicly so that we can get consensus from people. Yeah, they've all been playing this way. That means I've been playing it wrong. That's why we need to air it publicly, right? So please, let's be sensible over this situation. In regards to this situation, I think it's still not resolved. Okay, without being boxed in, this wording is too ambiguous. Okay, we need to solve this. Okay, with that, thank you.